I'm Debbie Lupariello, and I'm the godmother to Mohammed, who lives in Gaza. And I'm here really to tell our story and his story because it's an important one. Mohammed, he came to live with me and my late husband first when he was 6 years old. And I live in Cincinnati, Ohio. He came to Cincinnati, Ohio to have burn surgery at Shriners Burn Center. Mohammed was burned on 80% of his body when he was 3 years old. And because burn tissue doesn't stretch, he was losing the use of his eye and his arm and his leg. And so he came through a charity organization called the Palestinian Children's Relief Fund, brought him here to Shriners Burn Center for surgery. And he came to live with a friend of mine, and she was a single woman. And because of that, my late husband, David, and I really became very, very involved with him. When Mohammed arrived in Cincinnati, he didn't speak a word of English, but he was just full of light, like undescribable joy and light. And when he was struggling with a place to live and there was a shout out, my friend Pamela was like, I have to help this child. And we became enthralled with him. We didn't have children at that time. And so Mohammed became like ours. And he was here for a year and a half. Skin grafting surgery. And for those of you that don't know about burns are terrible. But what's the worst part about burns is that your scar tissue doesn't stretch. And so you have to, as long as you're growing, you have to have skin grafting for the rest of your time. And skin grafting is really painful. And so, gosh, this kid was like, even though he was going through these painful surgeries, he was just joy. And he went back to Gaza to be with his family, and he was supposed to come back a year later to continue his surgeries. But when it came right down to it, I think it was too hard on his mom to let him come again. And the war broke out, and we lost contact with him. So years went by. Maybe 7 years went by. We hadn't heard from him. And David and I just couldn't take it. We just needed to know how he was. And so we sent word through PCRS, and I'll never forget it. We got a call. We were on our way back from Florida. I'm in my 20s, you know. David got his first promotion at work, and he was working mean hours, lots of hours. And they called us and said, we found Mohammed, and he wants to come back. He's 15 years old. He's again losing the use of his eye, his arm, and his leg for the same reason, you know. And I'll never forget it. David, he didn't skip a beat. He was like, if we were going to take him at 7, there's no way we can't take him at 15. And less than 30 days later, Mohammed was walking off a plane, and he was holding a picture of me, and I was holding a picture of him. And he lived with my family for a year and a half, almost 2 years. We were taking care of burn bandages, working insane hours, and had a 4-year-old little girl running around. And Mohammed, culturally, I mean, it was a crazy experience. You know, we were so different. Our lifestyles were so different. And gosh, it was really hard in the beginning. But when I look back, all the things that made it hard are what made it great. You know, he was introduced to a vacuum cleaner very early. He was introduced to helping with dinner, helping in the house, worked hours with me in the garden. We would talk about everything, about the world as a big place. And he changed me. And I changed him. And Mohammed grew. When Muhammad came when he was 15, he really he idolized the US and his memories of growing up here and Power Ranger costumes and trick-or-treating and the life, the freedoms here. He remembered and idolized that. And I think he came here, he wanted to look better for girls. I mean, he wanted an ear. He wanted like the things a normal 15-year-old would want. And quickly after he was here, the war broke out again. And after time, he couldn't live with something happening to his family and him being here. It got harder and harder. And then he started to ask to go home after about a year and a half. He went to St. X High School here. He made friends. He had a community. Everybody loved him. There are so many people here in Cincinnati that love Muhammad, that still to this day know and love this kid. But he, even with his life here, he couldn't be here and lose them. So I always say, he came a boy, but at some point when Muhammad was here, he became a man. So he went back to Gaza, and we stayed in contact. It wasn't like the last time. We've stayed in contact all the way through these years. He is an incredible writer and artist. And so through the years, even, I've been able to see him grow as a man. I've been able to see him get married, become a father. He's an entrepreneur. He started his own graphic design business. And through all of that, there would be conflict. And periodically he would be like, God, help me get out. How do I get out? And we would look through a path, like maybe he could get a job somewhere. And then life would move back on. He started his first business on his own as a graphic designer. And it was in, the building, I can't remember what year that was, when they brought the big tower down in Gaza. And he had 10 minutes to pack everything that he could and get out before they leveled it. And he lost everything. And God, like at that time I thought, how does he recover from constantly having to rebuild and rebuild and rebuild? He was so resilient. I mean, Muhammad is so resilient and positive, like positive. Looking forward, but when the conflict this time happened, I knew and he knew it was very different than before. When they targeted bombs, they targeted specific places. This time, it was like there was a target and then they bombed everything around it. And he could tell that there was a different feel to this. And he was scared from very, very early on. He was scared. And when he fled his house, they had a building. They're very lucky. They had a building that a family member that lives in Egypt has a building that they all went to, his whole family. And I would FaceTime him and see where they hid during the missiles. And it was scary. It was scary. And he would be safe there for a bit. And then it would be like, you gotta go, you gotta go. And then him and his wife and his 3 kids would run and they would go somewhere else. And then they would be safe there. And then the missiles would come in. It's just gotten worse and worse and worse. And until he was up in Tent City in Rafah. And at that time, we were like, we got to get you out. And he wanted out. And I think it's one of the hardest things for people to understand. I think there's a lot of this that's hard for people to understand. But I think the hardest thing for people to understand is that they want out. People just want to live. He just wants the basic things of living, food and joy and work and life. I knew we had to get him out. And so we started a GoFundMe page, and I spoke in front of city council, and I know I have a unique perspective. But I wanted people to know that he's a good person and that these are real people that we're talking about, not just a story. Mohammed's the same. I mean, this was the same 15-year-old I was trying to get shoes on to leave the house. I mean, this kid is, he's my kid. This is a real person that I love. And you know what? We raised that money, and damn it, if it wasn't one day after they closed the border. So there's a lot of guilt of like, what if I hadn't just taken that money out a little earlier? But he's still there. And he is starving. And now when I see him, he looks like the photos that you see in magazines of people starving to death. I mean, his face is sunken in, and they're eating one meal a day of lentils, and his littles, they're like the age of, they're like 4, 5, and 7, somewhere around there. And they are getting one meal a day and of the same food every day. And now the same kid that I know and love is like, how do I tell my kids I can't give them more food? And his wife is diabetic, and his fear now is if she passes out, there's no sugar for her. There's nothing to bring her back now. And this is what he's living with. And now his burns, that's the circle comes full circle, because his burns, burn tissue doesn't sweat. And so now his burns are all infected, and he has open sores and infection. And now his life is really at risk, and he doesn't have long. He's grateful for all the support, and I'm grateful for the support, but I'm also really, really angry. I'm really angry that this is happening to him, and that the world is letting this happen to him, that we're funding this happening to him, that this is happening to everyone, that he is seeing this and being this, that it's so wrong. That you can't starve people. You can't do this to humans and trap them. and starve them and bomb them for whatever political purpose, whatever you have, it's not right. They have to open the borders and let him out. They have to let these people out. They've suffered enough for whatever political agenda you have. I don't give a shit. I don't care. I don't care about any political agenda right now. I only care 100% for Muhammad's life and his little family's life, that he is doing everything he can to protect and save. That's where my interest is. And right now, I just need the world to see him, value him, and save him. So enough is enough. Let's open the borders. Let's get Mohammed what he needs. Let's get him out. Let's get him to safety. He deserves it. He just sent me yesterday a picture of him from 4 months ago and a picture of him today. And I still just see the little boy in the Power Ranger costume. And so I'm here to ask everyone, why isn't this genocide the number one thing on people's mind? How can you live with yourselves? We've seen genocides in the past. We have regrets. How can we, as a nation, as a people, not do everything in our power to prevent this? Not just for Mohammed, but for his babies.